people are scared of putting themselves out there and putting themselves out in the media and doing that stuff. Fear and art and media, for me, go hand in hand. If you want to make a podcast, if you want to make a film, if you want to write a script and you're scared to fucking death about it, do it, because it means that you are in a position where you're kind of being your own caller. That's your conscience saying like, yeah, like, you know, be careful, but do it, because that fear is kind of like, it's your litmus test. Our superpower is that we can perceive fear and choose to push past it. Mm-hmm. And not everybody utilizes that superpower. They stay behind their fear. They stay behind what is comfortable to them. And there's no growth there. We have discovered something new. We've discovered a gap in care for artists that doesn't exist in such a meaningful way as Homegrown is hoping to become. What we're trying to do and how we're changing the game is that we are putting the artist before the art. Whereas art is usually the thing that comes out of it. Unfortunately, you know, people who are amazing artists have mental health issues, and like things happen, and some are no longer with us. I have friends who have gone too soon, and there's fucking room to change that.
Hey there, I'm Abby J. Gertson, and welcome to the podcast for dreamers, weavers, and believers in a better tomorrow. Join me as I sit down with the founders who are reshaping our future and making a difference. This is Regen Society. Welcome, Guillermo. Today I'm joined by Guillermo Barazza, the Executive Director and founder of Homegrown Arts Media Collective, which is an Alberta-based nonprofit dedicated to ethical, inclusive storytelling. And so through your mentorship and your community, Homegrown empowers emerging filmmakers and creators to tell meaningful stories in a way that supports both creativity and mental well-being. And your showcase is coming up October 17th, 18th. So be sure to check that out if you're in the Calgary area and get your tickets now. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I couldn't have introduced myself better. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess I want to start off this conversation with, bringing the larger picture in so that we can kind of get down to it. And so one question I really like to start with for that is, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge currently facing us as a society right now?
Well, from our perspective, and the most homegrown answer is the idea that media is inherently evil or inherently misguiding or inherently corrupting us, which that last part, I will say, it has the potential to corrupt us if we don't understand it. But media isn't, I like to say media is like the Force. It can have a dark side and a light side. And in how you use it, it's a powerful tool, but it's not evil. It's not out to get you. You know, fake news is not out to get you. How you interact with it is the most important thing. And so as Homegrown, we really want to teach people that their voice has power, and what you do with that power, who you affect with that power, and how you affect with that power is just, it's so important, because it can corrupt, you know, or it can inform. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword, and it's like, what do you do with that? Yeah, like with great power, right, comes great responsibility. So even now, like, this is timely because the Charlie Kirk thing just happened, which we don't have to dive too into, and I can be a little, you know, intense about my opinions about things, but I think it's clear that, like, he had a big influence because he was a podcaster, because he was so invested in the media and drawing that lens, like, that's kind of our future. Like, if you want to change the world, you can get into politics. Maybe you'll make a difference. But if you get into media, you know, there's a lot less barriers. But that also means that there's more people that can come in who might not have the best interests at heart of others. And maybe they don't even believe their own opinions, but, you know, they want to create a certain world or something like that. So how do you contend with that as being in media? How do you kind of contend with that power and use it for good rather than letting it take you?
Wow, that's a big question. And I'm glad you brought up what happened with Charlie Kirk. I'm glad you brought it up. I also have very strong opinions about none that I will voice, because you're always going to piss somebody off. But people like Charlie Kirk, people like Joe Rogan, mm-hmm. their power doesn't come from what they say. Their power comes from the people who follow them. Who they are, they're humans. They're people, and they're fallible, and they can create biases in their head. But then they are smart in the way that they market it, or the way that they relay it to people, and intentionally make it easy to understand mm-hmm. and easy to be outraged about, without any proof of anything. It's like their proof is that they're so fervent in how they say things.
Right. There's no judge and jury. It's just one man's opinion on a couch with a microphone.
and their passion is what sells the thing. It's their emblazoned like way of putting their fist in the air and saying this is the right way of thinking, and this is the way that you should be thinking, and there's no other way. That's the danger of media. It's because it once you have the masses hooked, you can basically get them to do whatever they want. And so the danger is in that ideology of getting people together, like-minded people. Hey, we're like downtrodden, middle, lower class, and we're pissed off and we're not going to take it anymore, except that that's not really the case, Somebody like me, I've been in media since 2013-ish, in and around. And before that, I was in the trades. And before that, I was in the service industry. I worked at Blockbuster and Taco Bell.
Nice.
and I think how that helped me in media is helping me understand that there are variable perspectives of and points of view of people and to various people in the world, that like we just it's impossible for all of us to agree. And it helped me understand that, like, what is the truth, what is my truth, and what is the way that I want to communicate my point of view without trying to piss off those people who are against that point of view. So, I mean, if you haven't worked in the service industry, I really think that that's such an important thing that everybody should do. I mean, some countries have like a term of service in the army. I think you should have a term of service. Yeah. Defending $3 late fees to a pissed off yuppie. Like, honestly, like, you have no idea how to deal with people until you deal with them as part of the service industry. And I think that would just having a term of service would make the world a better place.
Yeah. And that like humility, because I think that like entitlement is kind of what makes the world worse. Or before we started this conversation, we were talking about maybe like gatekeeping, or when we feel like we're better than others and we want to maintain our elevated privilege. And the only way to do that is by pushing other people down. And I think that's the danger of media, is any media that paints a narrative that this person's superior and this person's inferior, and therefore this violence is justified or this oppression is justified.
That's so intelligent. I love that you said that, because what media does is it almost creates a synthetic way of thinking that doesn't account for any of your privileges. And everybody has privileges. Everybody has privileges. You have privilege. I have privilege. Like, there's not a person on this world that doesn't have privilege. And so identifying that and thinking about that and coming into a conversation knowing that you are coming from a place of privilege and understanding the person who you're talking to. Empathy, talking about Charlie Kirk, empathy is so important. It's also dangerous, but it's so important, because if I can approach a conversation with somebody who is of a different background or a different, ideology, but I come with it being like, okay, I know my privileges. I know what I'm coming in here to talk about. I know I'm coming to a podcast to talk about something that, it could be triggering to some folks. But then I understand that you also bring some privileges, whether I understand those privileges or not. Like, that's where we can kind of hit that middle ground, like understanding that we all are different people. And I think that's what maybe, like, I'm going to tie it all back together. It's that service industry thing, right? You kind of see people's privileges, you know, you see the way that they talk to you when they're ordering your food, you know, you see the way that they tip, you know, you see the way how they leave the table, you know, and you can identify and you can start to see some of these things and scope it out and be like, okay, yeah, you know, things are different. And just putting yourself in that position, is a big step towards, like, being somebody better, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, well, I think that's a huge challenge too, because the more power we have, I think the less empathy we can actually feel. And that's been correlated in studies that the richer you are, the less empathy you feel. So in empathy, and it's interesting that Charlie targeted that word specifically because, like, I mean, I've been getting really into true crime lately. And, like, seeing these, like, psychopaths and these people, and the defining characteristic about them is that they can't feel empathy. And that is what enables them to do these horrific acts and feel nothing. And empathy is really what, like, unites our society in its core essence. Like, if we didn't care about each other, we wouldn't have a society. Yeah. And policies and rhetoric that encourage people to not see each other as human or not feel empathy for other people's experiences, whether it's Palestinian children or Black people or women or even men feeling like they're, like, being left behind. We need to empathize with people, but at the same time, there's that, like, accountability piece. It's like, I'm going to hold you accountable for your peace or your privilege. Hold yourself accountable, humble yourself. But also empathize with, like, maybe you grew up entitled. Maybe you never had to, like, take accountability for shit. Like, maybe you're not capable of that. I can have empathy for that, but I can't excuse that and let you walk all over me.
No, of course not. No. There's a sense of, or there's a layer of self-preservation that needs to happen so that, you know, take care of yourself before you take care of others type thing, right? And if you're allowing yourself, if you are exhibiting empathy in a way that you are putting yourself in that hole with people, you're not helping them or you. You're in there with them, and like, you're basically harming yourself while doing it, right? So there is a sense of self-preservation that needs to happen, and what that is individual to every person. But, you know, the way I see it and the way I'm trying to kind of approach it from a homegrown perspective is that we empathize that there are many different stories across all of the people who we're going to be talking to. And the eventual goal of Homegrown is to go into rural communities, into indigenous reserves, and teaching storytelling from, you know, an AV perspective. I'm not going to teach people how to storytell, but I'm going to teach them how to tell their story.
Is
audiovisual.
Okay, yeah.
So we're not teaching them how to tell a story. We're teaching them how to tell their story, how to identify the parts of the stories that they want to approach in a safe and sustainable way, so they keep their mental health in check. To be able to put that out there for people to see and experience. But at the root of everything we do is mental health. It is keeping yourself safe. And the first part of that is the way to keep yourself safe is to not put yourself in danger and creating strong boundaries, right? It's creating strong boundaries with the art that you make, the people who you meet. Boundaries is a big part of Homegrown, is establishing our boundaries, and establishing safety for oneself, and identifying what is your perspective, what is your story, and how does that resonate with people in a negative and positive way. And I'm not saying we cracked the code. This is a work in progress. But the first part of, you know, being empathetic and being a society is taking care of oneself. And I love to say this. I love to say that there's a comedian by the name of George Carlin, really old comedian. Love him, yeah. He said, I love people. I love talking to people. I love engaging people. I hate a group of people, because that mentality starts to kind of engage and everybody starts to get, and then all of a sudden you're wearing funny little red hats and you're spewing hate and that sort of thing. So what we want to do is create a community of individuals identifying the power of each person and their voice and in the way that in how they want to tell their stories, whether it be animation or marketing, PR, videography, whatever that is, identifying each and every individual's power, so that we can collectively become a force of individuals. Does that make sense? It's a weird way of like thinking about it, but we want to create a group of individuals. and it's important to be able to also just be individual, have your own point of view and thoughts while you're in a group. Otherwise you just get kind of like sucked into it, and it becomes it's just this, which is another big gripe of me in the film industry. Like, we were just talking about it before this, how like the film industry, is kind of weird, gatekeeping, and there's a lot of it's because it's always been done.
Right.
That's such a dangerous way of thinking. Oh, that person's like that because that's just the way they've always been. Well, why? Fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know, but you're an asshole. So why don't you change
it started at some point. It's not since the beginning of time. Like,
yeah. And it's your choice if you want to end it. Like, you don't have to be this. You don't have to be that. But yeah.
There's something to me too, because you're talking about people's voice and that idea too, that your voice can often get lost in the crowd and, following along what everyone else thinks. And I mean, we're social animals, so we're wired to, disregard ourselves for the sake of the group. And if you don't do that often, you are the targeted, you are the outlier, you are, pushed away. And so I'm curious how that relates to art, because my experience has been like learning my voice and finding my expression as an artist. It's been a very like solo, personal, introspective experience. I'm curious about how you move with that. And yeah, you're talking about empathy too. And like, as you start to share your voice, there's also that fear that comes up, that fear of being seen and that fear of, I'm going to put myself out there, and like, what if I'm a piece of shit? Or like, what if I'm stupid? Or like, what if everyone thinks I'm ugly? Or like, it's hard to put yourself out there. And there's this selflessness by expressing your work and just being a beacon for the culture to actually grow from. And then there's also some narcissisticness you maybe need to have to say like, my voice is important and I have something important to say,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. These are great questions. Narcissism, a small bit of it, is important for art, I think.
Necessary narcissism.
It's necessary. It is. Yeah, it's damn near like if you don't have it, you don't have art kind of thing. So there is a bit of a narcissistic personality that you need to have to be able to tell your story. But, like I said, like you inform yourself with how your story comes across, how your story can be interpreted and read in different ways, and keeping yourself safe. And, like, am I prepared? Am I informed? And am I ready to tell this part of my story? Because some people, I will say historically, I have met folks who really want to tell, a very specific part of their identity and story. And then they get to writing and they realize that, wow, this is like, you're like putting this out there is letting somebody in completely to who I am. And then you start to overthink it and you start to, oh my gosh, maybe this is not a good idea. I don't want to put this out. And we encourage that. We encourage you. We don't want you to put out everything you write. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say we're teaching people how to do a little short film about themselves. And that person goes through that process of writing it down. And then they start to like realize that this is much more than they want to tell. We encourage that change of mind, because the importance of putting it down and working through the emotions and the things that got you to the point where you're just like, oh, this is too much. That's an important thing. That's almost like you've gone through your own quest, your own journey of what your story is, and you're coming to terms with a lot of things. And that's an important part of it. Whether you're going to make it, that's up to you. We leave that up to you, and it's not wasted time. You have that now to kind of look back on. I'll speak about it personally. Like, I'm going through a very traumatic, tumultuous time with my identity right now, because My parents are from El Salvador. I was born in El Salvador. I haven't been back to El Salvador 2006 was the last time I was back. I don't know El Salvador. I don't know the people. I barely know the language, you know? And am I Canadian? I've been here long enough. I've been here for a very long time. I've been here enough to know that that being Canadian has also its difficulties. There is a lot of the history of Canada that was, you know, and I come from a Catholic school, so a lot of that was not taught. The church did some pretty good things in Canada. Oof, really? Like, you know, I don't know about that. And you learn about that later, and you're just like, so then, like, you know, where am I? What am I? Who am I? Like, from language to, you know, to how I identify, to how I celebrate certain things. That's a part of my story that I'm literally writing down and being like, this doesn't make sense. Some of this stuff doesn't check out and doesn't connect. Am I ever going to tell it as like a film or anything? Probably not. But it's important for me to write that down and to put it down on paper or on a document somewhere, and being like, I'm discovering this about myself. So we encourage people to tell their story. We don't, I mean, if you don't want to get to that point where you're making something from that story, you don't have to. But it is important, I think, for everybody to kind of like write it down or at least think about it, you know?
That sounds like maybe some art is just for you and some art is for the world. And that's kind of how I've had to reframe it as well. Cause like, I think of art more as like, this is my therapy. This is how I like express my soul in a way that I can feel fulfilled. And I can go to sleep at night happy because I did what I dreamed of. Not because it's going to reach the world and everyone's going to love it. And I think the people who do create for the sake of the accolades, they create shit. And the people that create just because they love it and just because it felt so real and true to them, they make these masterpieces that are, you know, iconic for generations. And I often think back in the past and like there's certain people throughout the time periods that are like important. Then you think about all the people that were alive at that time and only that one person who made that one scientific discovery or who sat on that bus in that one moment, like those are the people that we remember. And so many other people were doing amazing things, but no one's ever heard of them. They could have saved so many lives. They could have dedicated their whole life and like been an amazing person, but maybe they didn't write it down and we never hear of them. And like those people aren't any less amazing just because no one's heard of them. And
of course,
people who are
absolutely
famous aren't amazing just because they have cameras shoved in their face every day. Like,
The thing about, I guess, I could go for a long time about, you know, how to market yourself and how, you know, you're moved forward because of privilege or whatever that looks like. But you're right. There's so many people have gone and told their story, and maybe it's your first time hearing, you know, that story from that person. And you're just like, oh, I've never heard of this before. And then you kind of like delve into what that, you know, what that is. And it's a good way to take inspiration for sure. Yeah. And realizing that everybody has a story. And just
everyone has a story. And like making space for that more.
Yes.
Because, and you mentioned too, the diversity of voices. And it makes me think of learning permaculture and the diversity of ecosystems is the strength and resilience of the ecosystem. And there is this push, like you mentioned, large communities. Oh, we're all the same. Oh, we all believe in the same religion. Oh, we all have the same skin color. Oh, we all have the same political, you know, candidates that we like. And there's this homogeny. Then there's this feeling that everyone has to think this way. And it's easy to feel comfortable around the people that you are similar to. That's very human. But there's so much strength in learning how to engage with diverse experiences and opinions, because you will grow as a person and recognize that there's this beautiful mosaic that comes out. And Canada is a great example of that. Like there's people from all over the world. And I grew up in Fort McMurray. There's like, no one was born there. Everyone's an immigrant. Everyone's from somewhere and they got their engineering degree in India or wherever. And so it just, like, white people weren't even the majority there. So I didn't grow up with that mindset that, like, we're the majority. We need to stay the majority. It just felt like this is the place where everyone can come and be welcome. Yeah, we have some really dark history that we need to contend with and, like, try to rectify and, you know, reconciliation and things like that. But you know, if the Indigenous people are okay with us being here, like we're all immigrants at the end of the day other than them. So maybe we can have a little bit of humility about that as a country and have that welcoming energy. Not that we should just open our borders and everyone come in and housing prices go
There's
crazy.
danger in that too.
Let's be mindful, but just to remove some of that conceitedness. Like, we're not Italy, we've been here for generations, this is our homeland, this is generations back. No, we're all kind of new, and maybe we can make a beautiful world together that is not harmed, I guess, from the way things were done in the past. We don't have to hold on to those things, because a lot of it was harmful, and we're more evolved, our technology is better, our education systems are better, our systems can be so much better. And yes. I don't know, I just feel like people are capable of so much more than maybe we think they are based on our current society.
I will agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, you mentioned that homogenous ideal. And I want to tell a story. It's not my story. It's a wonderful young filmmaker and videographer and photographer named Tyler McKinney. So I met him at an AMAS, Alberta Media Arts Alliance conference in Red Deer, and we had just an immediate connection with this guy. It was such a unique. I feel very few and far between meet people who I'm like, whoa, we're driving really well, even through opposite, points of view in some ways. But he told a story about matchstick forests. So he's indigenous in his culture. There was a group of what are they called? I think they were called fire keepers. I want to say that was what they were called. And what their job was every year was to control burn parts of forests, because there was a danger in that if a certain breed of a species of tree becomes dominant, then that species begins to multiply. And then there's a danger that if some sort of blight or some sort of something comes along, or a beetle or something, and attacks that one tree, because of the homogeneous ideal, or the homogeneous species of that tree, they all die, and then they all become basically tinder for fire. So they would burn parts of the forest so that they could open up pine cones that need heat to what do you call it? To propagate, and then different types of trees would grow from this fire. And so you wouldn't get, if blight comes or a beetle comes and it kills, 1 in 10 trees instead of all 10. And when he was saying this, he was telling me this, and Homegrown's logo is fire. We call it Firelight. I was like, holy fuck. It was I was like, yeah. And he used that, and it's if everybody has the same ideal, one thing comes along and poof, and you saw it with the pandemic a little bit, where certain clusters of people were this and certain were that, and things became very politicized, and there was distrust from a lot of things. But that same ideal is dangerous. It can be dangerous, because if one thing comes along, your society is basically upended. And you talked about that tapestry of people that Canada is made up of. That's important. And you're right. We shouldn't open doors and we shouldn't let everybody in, but we should have an open mind to bring people in who have a different opinions than yours, because on the other side of that is knowledge. On the other side of fear of this person, there is something that can be had that can diversify your point of view and your thoughts, and you can become just a better, more open person to certain things. A little microcosm of that is our board of directors. Our board of directors is made up of folks, Homegrown's board of directors, of folks that don't agree on everything. They actually, there's some folks who completely disagree, including me. I disagree with some of the stuff that they bring. But the importance of that is that we're not all moving in unison. We're not just doing things and that makes sense, and then we just it's harmful. We all have different perspectives, and we play devil's advocate with each other. Well, what if this happens? Right, yeah, I never thought of that because I don't have that perspective. And we can kind of make a plan and a risk mitigation that actually fortifies Homegrown, instead of just making it a matchstick forest, something that can burn down when one thing happens, because we all think of it the same way. So very different. Like diversity is important, and we kind of want to make that our call. Diversity is important. It's necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. Well, yeah, it's interesting too because I come from the lens of like intentional communities, and so like groups of people choosing to live together on land or in a home because they have shared values. And part of that is that there's a like bandwidth for difference. There's like some people are too different and they can't connect to the community. They can't connect to the ecosystem. And you can almost imagine it like maybe an invasive species. It's like, oh, they come in and they need to dominate everything and they don't have any predators. And all of a sudden, or just a really negative person who's got a lot of trauma and they're just lashing out at everybody. And everyone's like taking so much emotional bandwidth just to hold this one person. And it's just like ruining the community. And so I think there's this like caveat where it's like you need some shared values as the cornerstone. And that's what I'd like to see in Canada more so is like, can we come together and decide what are our shared core values and what are the things that we can disagree on? Yeah. Because that's the thing about people like Charlie Kirk that I think take it too far where their core values isn't every human life is important. Their core values isn't, everyone deserves a roof over their head and to be taken care of and not to be like demonized because they grew up poor or they were around violence or like just to have compassion for the diversity of experiences. To me, that's a core value, but we haven't really as a society come together and defined those. And so when they're up for debate and then we have these really strong conflicts like during COVID where it's like, oh, like, are you allowed to have medical freedom? Or is it okay if we take it away because it's for the greater good? Yeah. Or is this the greater good? Or is the vaccine bad? Or do you trust medical institutions? Like, and I don't think we all need to agree, but that's kind of also how cults start, right? Everyone agrees on everything and the leader can't be questioned. We should be able to question, but we should also know when certain ideas are worth being rejected. And I think anything that starts to veer into the realm of fascism and like taking away the voices of others and justifying that, like that should be like the warning signs. It's like, oh wait, we're getting away from open debate and now we're getting into things that could cause real harm to real people. It's no longer just an innocent conversation. And everyone says about Charlie's like, oh, he was just having a conversation, he didn't hurt anybody. I'm like, ideas kill people every day. Like, so you have to be really careful. And it's on you, I think. Like, that's why I've been so hesitant to start this podcast. Because like, I don't want to say something that in a year from now, I'm like, oh, that didn't age well. Like, there's a, like we mentioned, a responsibility to that. And just to be mindful and to be so solid in your own values that what is right, what is wrong, and what am I willing to like play with, even if it doesn't feel super comfy for me.
100%. Yeah. I you mentioned, another kind of aspect of media that we're trying to, that we're kind of butting up against is that, once you say something, it's online forever. Well, yes, but people change. As long as you didn't do anything egregious, as long as you didn't, break the law or, admit to murder or something on one of your podcasts, I'm okay with like, you saying something. But I think a lot of it is like, you said something back in 2025 on a podcast and it was, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But the fact, let's say future Abby from 2028 looks back on season 1 and you're like, yeah, I don't think that way anymore. That shows a lot about who you are. If you are the same person you were 5 years ago, Jesus, give up. Because you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not great. It's not great for you to not grow and change opinions and change the way you see things. And that is based on access of information. So we really want to say that if you say something that could potentially be misread, but it is your fervent belief that is the thing, well, maybe let's dissect it. I don't want to judge you for it, but let's dissect that. Why you said it, what was your bias, what kind of ideas came from that, and what caused you to say that. And then like, okay, well then if you're open to hearing about why that may have been wrong to you or wrong to other people, I think that shows growth, and that shows like, a flexibility of you're not staunch on something, and these people who spew the hatred and spew all that crap, and left and right, I don't know. I don't consider myself, I'm pretty like, I'm like off the chart left. Like, I'm like, everybody should have everything and we shouldn't have money. Like, it's, but these people who spew hate on both sides of the spectrum, they might not even, like you said, they might not even believe that shit. They might even just like be saying it for clout. They might be saying it because they know that 100,000 people are going to hear it and they're going to, oh yeah. And then there's going to be a following, right? They're chasing that. They're chasing that clout, that dragon. Like
disingenuous.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back because I'm a movie nerd, like a lot of the things that you see in films, like you see V for Vendetta. I love that film. It's a film I can throw on at any point in time. And there's that scene where the guy is in the guy who plays like a kind of like a weird version of like these pundits that are like go on like Alex Jones and shit. He's in the shower or whatever, and he doesn't even believe his own shit. He's having a conversation about like they're gonna believe it because I'm the one who said it, and he's talking about how his nose was lit wrong. This is the type of person that is behind those people who spit that hatred. They don't give a fuck about your well-being. They don't give a fuck about you. They give a fuck about their ratings, about how much money they're going to make, about their sponsors, about all of this crap that emboldens their point of view. And whatever they're going to say that is going to get them that bump in ratings is what they're going to say. And whereas, us sitting on this podcast, we say something, could be misconstrued, but then when this becomes like multinational and you're huge.
Inevitably.
And when we're sitting in a penthouse suite in New York or something, and they go back to season 1 and they're like, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe he had that guy on. He's like a murderer now. He popped off and Guillermo went out and killed a bunch of people.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I can't believe he had her on.
That'd actually make it like an exclusive episode, like before his break.
Yeah, you would sell that. Package it, sell it,
Gotta be good at marketing.
Exactly, yeah. So that kind of stuff is like, it's silly to me when people are like, oh, it's in the internet forever. That person said this and now they've been canceled and they're never coming back.
Right.
Obviously, like, there's a range between like posting something on Twitter and Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby.
Some things you can come back from.
Yeah. There's some things you can come back from. Some things not so much. So there is a spectrum. I don't agree. Like, I think cancel culture is a little silly to me. Because
it gets extreme.
I think it's like one of those things where, again, like, depending on how bad it was what they said, people are like, nope, you can't have it. No, I'm not no, I can't separate it. No, it's like, okay, well, calm down. They made a shitty post on X or something, or on Twitter. Like, relax. And they were 15 when they did it. Like, fuck. Like, you know what I mean? So that kind of stuff is silly. But, there's a time and place for everything. And I think some people should be canceled. but it's, yeah. Media, man, it's a weird place to be. It's a weird sphere of ideologies, Yeah,
media is interesting because I guess you're coming from the film industry and I'm kind of coming from the social media lens. So there's less like risk in a way because you're not investing all this money and all your equipment and this professional story and all this. But my experience has been a lot of people are afraid to go on social media because of that vulnerability, really, of not only like maybe building in public, but then, like saying something wrong, but it requires a strength of character to like be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, like that's not my best self. Let me take ownership of that. Let me like try to do better. And I think that kind of speaks to like the whole Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni thing happened, and she's accusing him of these things, and then you can see his track record and his podcast and all the things he's done to like help domestic violence victims, and without trying to get the cameras there, like it wasn't a photo op. He like genuinely has cared about this movement. He's chosen this film because he cared. His interviews showed that he cared. Yeah. And her interview showed she didn't care at all. So she's trying to paint this narrative. Yeah. And maybe if he had nothing else on the internet, people had been like, oh, well, believe women, right? And normally I'd say, sure. But I think he had that actually to defend him and say like, oh, well, I've been doing this for so long. Like, do you really think his character is that off? And like you mentioned Bill Cosby, sometimes, he's got this great charismatic personality, but it's really who people are behind closed doors. And I do see the people who have the most power and the most influence in media often are the worst people. And I don't think they started out that way. I think that being a spotlight and being told how special you are, and that encourages the worst parts of our humanity, I think. And it takes a great strength of character to not be corrupted by the limelight.
Oh, for sure. I mean, how many, child stars go and just absolutely crash out?
Oh, they're so traumatized.
In their 30s, right? Yeah, no, 100%. I think you are the prize winning horse, like for a little while, and you let that get into your head. I want to go back to something you said, because I really loved it, that, people are scared of putting themselves out there and putting themselves out in the media and doing that stuff. Fear and art and media, for me, go hand in hand. If you are afraid to start your podcast or to start your project, I think that is a good marker to let you know that you should be starting it, because people who are not afraid of doing that kind of stuff are the IRL streamers who get arrested, or shot in the States and stuff. They're not scared. They pull out their phones and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And they're unafraid. They're out there and they're chasing clout. And people who go out and spew hatred and stuff, they're not afraid of it. They know that they have something and that they want to move forward. But if you want to make a podcast, if you want to make a film, if you want to write a script and you're scared to fucking death about it, do it. Because it means that you are in a position where you're kind of being your own caller. You're like, I don't know if I should do that. I'm scared to death to do it. I don't know if that's your conscience saying be careful, but do it, because that fear is kind of it's your litmus test. I don't know.
That's it's important.
Very important. And it means that you're kind of cautious about it, and you want to see how it goes, I think fear is a good way. It's a good kind of North Star for people. And then I don't know too much about the Blake and other stuff. I don't know too much about it. But another thing that, resonates with me is that along with, not being the same person you were 5 years ago and stuff, there is no black and white. People are very quick to jump and be like, this person's wrong, this person's right.
Right.
Because we've been raised on villain versus hero forever. Real life doesn't work that way, we've all been in breakups where we've both played the bad guy, you know what I mean? I did this. And I've always been that. I
broke up with him.
Exactly. Everybody has a perspective, and there's no black and white. There's there's shades of gray throughout. And I think jumping onto that, they're wrong, he's wrong, she's right, she's wrong. It does then start to create that mentality of us versus them, or them above us, or me above them. And that's dangerous, right? Creating that kind of power dynamic is not great.
But we're addicted to it as a culture. Even during the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and it was just
100%.
We want that simple, moral narrative, and we crave it. And I think the movies that do try to show the ambiguous hero or the villain with a heart of gold, it's it's actually sometimes harder for people to get excited about those types of films, because it doesn't give you that same. It's almost like a dopamine hit or something when you get the final climax and the villain's burning in acid and the hero's dun 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 dun, and you're yes, all is right in the world. Things will be okay. And we kind of approach politicians like that too, which I have a huge problem with, because I think all politicians, to get into that seat, you have to have sold your soul at some point. And if you haven't, you're amazing, because most people have, no matter which side you're on. But people who, we love to glorify them. Oh, well, this guy, well, he did this thing. Oh, no, that was misconstrued, or we'll defend them. And it's can we just accept that they're imperfect people, and we might agree with some things they say, but we can't be 100% on any of these things. And it takes a little bit of I don't know. It feels a little bit intellectually lazy to just, you know, fall into those black and white kind of traps. But
100%.
It's easy, so I understand why we do it, and I do it too. And yeah, I'm not perfect with that, but I try not to fall too hard.
You touched on something that, like, you know, humans are we're good with patterns. We pattern recognition, and we like to compartmentalize. Like, this needs to be here and this needs to be here. This is, you know, and the pattern. This is why people see like Jesus on toast or something, you know, because it's like there's a face recognition and you know, that sort of thing. And I think that's what humans are good at. But you're right. There is almost this necessity to like have this bad guy, good guy. And I'm going to say something that might cancel me, but I'm going to say one man's Charlie Kirk is another man's Malcolm X. Like,
that's
you know,
scary, but yeah.
it's a terrifying thing. It's a terrifying thing. But some people believe so fervently in something, and not understanding that, you know, there is effect into what they're saying, because they don't give a shit. They don't understand that they have bias. Their version is right. And that compartmentalization is the danger, right? We're a species that is afraid of the unknown. We're supposed to be, we're trained, we're programmed in our DNA to be scared of what's rustling around in the grass. And it takes somebody special to root around in the grass and find out that that thing isn't scary, or it is, and now it's bitten you and you're dying. But it doesn't have to be terrifying. You can root around and find out what is scary and what isn't, and you discover more of the world that way. If our ancestors, you know, swinging from trees would have been very terrified of the grass, if they would have stayed in the trees, we would have been a very different species of people. Our superpower is that we can perceive fear and choose to push past it. And not everybody utilizes that superpower. They stay behind their fear. They stay behind what is comfortable to them. And there's no growth there. You are the same person you were 5 years ago because you're afraid of, I don't know, vegetables.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. I kind of think of like the idea of stagnation, because everything I've learned about health is like stagnation is death. And also, like, a lot of people live sedentary lifestyles. I'm kind of in danger of sometimes being too sedentary if I'm not forced to exercise. But that stagnation is really your comfort zone. Yeah. And so if you're not growing and you're always comfortable, then your muscles atrophy and your body isn't like strong. But if you're lifting weights, if you're running, if you're pushing your limits, then your limits expand. 100%. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is they feel uncomfortable about something and they automatically say, well, this is bad. This is wrong. This is scary. I need to retreat, instead of, oh, why? Like, why does this make me uncomfortable when someone questions this or they say they love Trump and I'm like, like, why is it that I'm so emotional about, oh, look, let me understand myself. Is there space for this? Or maybe there's no space right now, but one day I want there to be more space for me in 100%, that way.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like reading media that you don't inherently agree with, seeing films that you don't agree with, and that discomfort is the same as having muscle pain after you've worked out. You're growing something. You're pushing yourself outside of that same, whether you watch out of Real Housewives or something, and you end up throwing off, you see Citizen Kane and you're like, oh, it's making me uncomfortable or something, or, like something like that. That discomfort is not a bad thing. It's just like, you're not used to it. You're not used to bicep curling. And then the day after you're like, ow. It's the same thing with media. It's the same thing with using your mind. It's uncomfortable as fuck. And coming face to face with something that you are uncomfortable with is like, it's a reflection of like of you, right? Like you're like, oh, this is a me thing. It's got nothing to do with the media. The media is just a message. It's there. It's a thing that exists that somebody is telling, but the discomfort comes from you. So let's kind of like identify that, let's find out where that discomfort is coming from. Oh, I'm watching like cross-dressers on screen and whoa, that makes me feel weird. Where does that come from? Why is it making you feel, well, because it's wrong. Why is it wrong? My 4-year-old, why? It makes me kind of like go and take to the root of what is the problem. Why is it making me uncomfortable? you know? One of the things that we did in school when I was going through my communications is follow a pundit or a political broadcaster or something that makes you uncomfortable. And I at the time, man, those were sweet times. At the time, what was his name? Glenn Beck. That was like the worst that you can get. And I mean, very right wing, Fox News kind of thing, made me feel uncomfortable. But it taught me to kind of like see the perspective of different folks and different people and how they see things. And I'm like, that's not true at all. But but it kind of taught me that it was painful and it was like uncomfortable and it was gross sometimes. But it just kind of solidified the fact that like I believe in something different, and what I believe, like not everybody else does, you know? And I have very like I'm being very subdued right now. I'm like I'm the type of guy. I'm the type of cat who throws like bricks through like Parliament or something. But like I'm trying to be less that, because like radicalism also is very dangerous, and there's space and time for it. But
we tend to gravitate to extremes as a society, I think, and I think everyone uses Nazi Germany, and I do like to think of that as a good barometer for how you can kind of boil the frog slowly and like, oh, well, these people are the reason the economy is suffering. Oh, well, we're just getting them off the streets, but, you know, nothing bad's going to happen to them. Oh, well, they just disappeared. I don't know where they went. Oh, yeah, actually, we like burned them alive. Like it's just this kind of slow progression. So catching that at the first dehumanizing thing. But it's good to like surround yourself. I've also like tried not to be left or right. So I've listened to like conservatives, I've listened to liberals, and I have disagreements with both about different things, you know, and right now I'd probably lean a little bit more on the left side just because they seem to care about human life a little bit more in general.
How dare you?
But yeah, I consider myself like a humanist, and I think that the real divide at the end of the day is really the rich and the poor, and that was originally what it was. It was, you know, in France, the aristocrats and the peasants coming together in a room, and the aristocrats sat on the right side of the table and the peasants sat on the left. And it was like, well, we need to have a system to share power. So taxes are literally taking money from the people who own you and giving it to the rest of society so that they can function and survive and put a roof over their head. And so it's strange to me when I talk to like conservatives that are like, they don't want anybody else to be taken care of by society, but they're not even rich themselves. And I'm like, you're part of the people that are being oppressed. But even in our government, like, it's not that way. Like, both are going to be pro-corporate, you know, rich people. So it's not a real divide, but that was the original intention. And I think that if we could come back to that and have that solidarity and saying, like, not to be too opposite, but like, there's more of us than there is of them. And if all the people who are working class type of individuals get together and say, hey, we want a different system, the rich people wouldn't have more power than us, but because of money, because of these things that allow them to keep that control, you know, it keeps our society really stuck the way it is. And
comfortable. This is the way it's always been.
And we need something radical maybe to shift us out of that discomfort. And I hope it's not violent, and I hope it's not catastrophic. But that's what this podcast is really for. It's this like gentle call to say, like, what can be more regenerative, and how can we build that? And can we do it in a way that doesn't have to cause harm to the people operating the old system to build something new? Or is that inevitable because that's the only thing we've seen in history? I don't know.
I think like you hit it on the head where there has to, I don't know if it's violent. That we need a change. We need something to change. We need something to snap. And I think what media does, and what this kind of thing does, we're sitting, I hope I can reveal, we're sitting in a living room. We're having a conversation. This is where it can start, and it grows from here. And there's different people get attached and become fans and become individual thinkers and stuff. That's what media does. We can create 100,000 of these podcasts, all kind of pushing towards the same call to action that allows that change to happen. Where I will differ in your point of view is that there will probably come a time where we won't be listened to, where the status quo is not worth having to listen to the peasants. And I'll be the first to say that, like, if and when that time comes, we need to be prepared to do something drastic. Maybe not harm to people, but being loud and creating a big enough fire that we are being heard and we are being taken seriously. What that is, I don't even know if that exists yet. I don't know. But like, we need to start thinking about how far are we going to be pushed into being subdued before we're like, that's enough.
Before we shake off the shackles and wake up and start to come from our heads. Yeah, so we're talking about revolution. Oh my gosh. So, this is beautiful. I think, like, we're wrapping up now, so I just want to, like, give you a space to maybe share, like, what it is that you really want people to remember about Homegrown and what it is that, you're really building, because you're a founder and you've had this innovative vision for quite a while now, and it's all coming together. The community's growing, and it's super inspiring to see as well. And I think I agree with you. Film is just such a powerful medium for sure. So, so it's really your space to talk to the listeners out there and tell them, like, why should they connect with Homegrown, and what are you building that they should look forward to?
Well, thank you. Thank you for giving me the space, and thank you for having me on. This is, like, very new, and we're all still finding our voice. So thank you. Like, I mean, I feel privileged to be on the podcast as one of the first few people to be on there. So thank you. I'm like a narcissist. I'm talking about myself only, but the other half of Homegrown is my spouse and my partner, Caitlin. Caitlin comes from almost a decade of social work. So where I know media quite well, Caitlin knows the social work, mental health aspect very, very well. And we're 50-50 in this. So we are, and we've heard this from people other than ourselves, we have discovered something new. We've discovered a gap in care for artists that doesn't exist in such a meaningful way as Homegrown is hoping to become. So we're very new. We only incorporated in December 2024. Christmas Eve, actually, we got our certification, and we're very new. We're finding our way. We've been so lucky to have grants provided to us from the Calgary Foundation and the Calgary Arts Development to start building the programs that are going to be part of our core, our flagship programs. The first of which is a mentorship program. So what we're trying to do and how we're changing the game is that we are putting the artist before the art. Whereas art is usually the thing that comes out of it. Unfortunately, people who are amazing artists have mental health issues, and, like, things happen, and some are no longer with us. I have friends who have have gone too soon, and there's fucking room to change that. And that's where we want to live, is that space. We have so much ambition, and I need to collar myself a little bit because I have so much ambition as to what we want to do and where we want to be, and we want to go Alberta wide. But we've already had so much growth and so much traction in how we're doing. And in 7 short months, we've racked up a ton of grants, which is insane to us.
Congratulations.
Insane to us. Like, over $150,000 worth of grants. It's insane to me.
Wow.
But it's because there's something missing in media health that isn't just, like, standard healthcare. It isn't just insurance. It's taking care of the artist. It's kind of caring about what's going on in the background. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to change that. We're trying to kind of, like, focus on that. And through that, creating art that's meaningful. But making sure that people are doing it in a safe way and in a culturally respectful way. Like, I'm not the one going to be teaching these audiovisual workshops. By and large, we'll have different filmmakers, storytellers, marketers, PR, folks from different cultures and different other organizations who we're working with, namely, ICAI, the International Council for Landed Immigrants Artists here in Calgary. We're working the National Access Arts Center, which is a center for artists with disabilities. We're getting those folks to come and teach those classes on our behalf, because I can't identify with everybody who we're going to try to impact. Mm-hmm. So the best way to do that is to teach them the homegrown way, and then they will teach what they're good at with that homegrown way DNA attached to it. So we're being very intentional with everything we do. And right now we're in that position where everything is very scary and everything is very big. But we kind of keep our nose down, and we listen to our community. So if you want to join, if you want to help support, we will eventually have a website. Right now we're kind of in a weird limbo, but wearehomegrown.ca is our website. You can follow us on Instagram, where we're actually the most active right now, weare.homegrown. And we have the showcase coming up, which is kind of our flagship event, where we show new and emerging filmmakers and short films from Alberta. And you can go get your tickets at on Instagram as well. But eventually we're going to be everywhere because we have big plans.
Yeah, October 17th and 18th.
17th and 18th, 2025, right? 2025.
What year is it?
What year is it? Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. It sounds like you're really taking strides to build a more regenerative media culture in Alberta, which is like so beautiful, because like not only can you bless the people who are making the art, but you can bless the people who get to receive art. And actually, I don't know, it just keeps giving and keeps growing. And
eventually we want to scare a lot of people, we want to scare them into opening up their minds, because some of the stuff that we have been getting for even the film festival, I've been like, whoa, that's a different way of thinking. But it pushes me to kind of like, it scares me a little bit, it makes me uncomfortable, and that's kind of where I want to be.
Everyone's watching horror movies, but no, why don't you just watch like some politically antagonizing or something that I think, and that's a powerful thing too, to just like be open to the unknown. Like you mentioned, like these people are coming in with their voices. What are they going to say? Not sure, but let's hear them out, and see what our community is really made of.
100%. Yeah. Be open to the unknown. I like that. I really do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It was beautiful chatting with you. And really excited. Hope to be able to see your showcase and witness everything you guys have been doing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.